just to get started a little bit, Elizabeth, do you want to just share kind of why you decided to join Conquer Your Mind? What was going on before we started working together?
Yeah, so there was a good amount. I was going through a breakup of the guy I'd been with. Was We were together for like a year, but we'd gotten into like a pretty unhealthy relationship, and it kind of felt like the rug had been like just swept out from underneath my feet. It was a relationship where I got out of it and like I basically completely lost myself in it. I didn't even know like what I like to do anymore. Like I basically had changed myself to fit what I thought he wanted me to be. So it was just like not a great
Mhm.
place mentally to be. Like I was like super, super terrible to myself and like my thinking habits and whatnot. And then on top of it, I was also in a job that is like super awesome and like rewarding in the fact that I'm giving back to people, but just didn't feel like I could advance as far as I wanted to, and like wasn't being appreciated the way that I felt like I could be as far as like compensation in it. And so I started working on my own company with some business partners, which is designing adaptive prosthetics for amputees and like for sports related stuff. And I have a background in prosthetic design, but I don't have like a certification in it. So I had a lot of limiting beliefs on that side of things as well. And just kind of like trying to find my purpose was like, and
Mhm.
just try to like get a healthier mindset and things.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remember like when we had our first call too, just hearing the vision that you had and like what you were working on was so inspiring for me. But definitely like being able to hear, as I think like most women can relate when we are doing something new or starting our own thing, that doubt or that limiting belief around taking that step.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Definitely. I was
Mhm.
also in like a situation where it was a, a lot was still holding me back. It was keeping me attached to uh like where I had been in my life, and it was preventing me from moving on. And I was being stubborn and not wanting to let go of it too. So that was another thing that the program really helped me in identifying.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, and so what would be some things that you started to notice like while we were working together and during the program?
Honestly, a lot happened when we first started working together. I was living with a good friend of mine, but she was still attached to like my ex's group of friends and everything. And I was living in a situation where I couldn't like move on from it. I was like kind of caught in this cycle where like no matter what I tried, like these things kept like coming up regardless of like what I tried to do to avoid them. So I think it was within a week of starting to work with you. She had decided that she wanted to move to like a different part of Colorado and like live on her own. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is like telling me to just kind of like move into an apartment by myself and like try to uh, like work on my mindset a little bit more and whatnot. And it was definitely a little devastating to me at first, just because it was like it was more so than just like releasing a friend group. It was just like really releasing any ties I had to my ex in that. And it was definitely something that really needed to happen. I had like people like in my life, like parents, friends who had like consistently kept telling me that I needed to move on from that situation. I was just like, no, but like I'm gonna lose her as a friend if that happens. And it um so that was good. It also kind of helped me realize how my view of a lot of friendships aren't necessarily how other friends necessarily view them, and how I have to like really begin to learn how to protect and kind of guard the energy that I give out as well, because I I was just like giving it from a dwindling place because I didn't have a place that was recharging it. I was just like consistently giving to people, and then like I felt like I was being screwed over all the time in it, and it's just like, oh no, you're like allowing that to happen. So that was a big one. Also just had like
Mm-hmm.
childhood stuff, like I started like I had a friend that like I've been friends with for like 24 years, and like some things came up with that as I was working with you, and it wasn't like anybody's fault really, but it identified like a lot of childhood, I guess it's considered trauma, but or just like I would say it was even generational trauma that had been carried down from like my mother, and how it had been like placed on me, and just like how we don't set boundaries for ourselves in anything, and how unhealthy that is for ourselves and our relationships. So yeah, a lot was brought up when I was
Mm-hmm.
working with you. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like I haven't like even identified this stuff in like my 26 years of living, and then like in a matter of 2 months it just like all came up. But it helped like identify
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and like helped me work through, yeah, a lot of areas that needed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think too, as like people pleasers, because that's something I had to work on myself, and like learning how to set those healthier boundaries and just realize that it is kind of up to us to take care of ourselves and create that safe
Mhm.
space for ourselves. And it was really cool watching you do that, um, because there was so much kind of being placed, your energy being placed in other people, or your worth being placed in other people, and getting to see you like kind of heal those things and come back to finding it from within.
It definitely. I mean, I feel like that's still like consistently a work in progress, because I still like see it. I mean, it's a habit I've carried for since I can remember. So it's like a very hard thing to break, but like the power to acknowledge it and see it when you're doing it is huge, because it allows you to like take a step back and be like, whoa, wait, am I doing this because like I'm afraid of somebody else's actions, of like, and like I'm changing how I would do something based off of that. And it's just like that's not
Mm-hmm.
staying true to myself in that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So now that you've finished the program, I guess, are there any other things that you didn't mention yet that you notice, like different shifts from having gone through it, or kind of
Uh,
like any changes for beginning to end?
uh definitely, definitely. The mind, like just my mindset in general, like I feel a lot calmer in my day to day. I've been able to let go of a lot of things a lot easier. The way you have the program set up with the meditations, and then like your daily work throughs, and then you also have your weekly kind of like journaling that you're prompted through. It kind of like it really sets it up to be able to like unlock all of these things that are so deeply rooted that you don't recognize, and bring them to the surface. And I mean, it got my headspace into a place of more gratitude, and like I feel happier every day. Like I wake up doing things that like I want to do for myself rather than other people. It's just been like, I guess it really put me in a place of like it's okay to do things for myself, and I'm like, right, like all the time, but like especially right now, like it's really been like it's okay to spend time on your own like all the time, and you don't have to feel bad for telling people no, and like it's it's healthy for you. And like it keeps you from going into like terrible mindsets and like being just like really mean to yourself. So like it completely transformed like how I view myself, how I like also view other people, and like it has allowed me to forgive a lot of people, and like even in like situations that I don't understand what was like happening, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it put me in a place where I was like, everybody's human, and like half of the people don't know what we're necessarily going through, and like we're trying to work through it all on our own, like with people, but like I don't know, they're just human. So it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's put me in a lot better headspace for sure, and like a lot happier with who I am and like where I am in my life.
Yeah. And it's like, it makes me really excited hearing it, and just honestly being able to support you and work through this together and see the transformation, and just constantly every week seeing different shifts, and like, oh my gosh, this old memory came up, or like, oh, I noticed I was in this pattern again. You're like putting the pieces together so that you can start to shift out of it. And I think you nailed it on the head earlier, because you said how like some of these things are things you've been doing your whole life. So they might not change overnight, but by having that awareness and like the tools to shift them, you at least can keep making that progress.
Yes, definitely. I know, like when we were even like outside of the program with like talking to you, and even when we were in it, you were like, certain people come into your life to like test how far you've come in things, and that's definitely been like a recurring thing. But it's been like nice
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be like, oh, this is just like retesting this area, and like I need to do more work on this. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Yeah.
people can mirror what you're thinking about yourself big time.
Yeah, definitely. And it allows you to then feel empowered and like take control back, versus like um staying stuck in like people pleasing or staying stuck in a negative mindset. You're just starting to realize, hey, like no matter what's going on outside of me, or what these people are testing me with, what can I learn from it or shift, or how can I, by being able to see the parts you can control, even when people are mirroring things to you, or it's like a test from someone else, being
Mm-hmm.
able to see what you can control, or what it's reflecting and teaching you, is
Yeah.
so empowering, because then you start to realize like you can take control of those things again.
Yes, definitely. Also, I will say with like your program, it was really nice to be able to have you as a resource to talk to. You just like provided a lot of different perspectives that like I wouldn't have received like anywhere else. Um, it just like it wasn't even like you drew like you didn't like say what to do in any situation, but you were just like, have you thought about thinking about it in this way, or like this approach to it? And it like really gets you thinking about it, and you're just like, oh, maybe I haven't. And
Mm-hmm.
just like taking it from a different perspective. So that was super helpful as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. um and I think like that is one thing that I really appreciate you saying too, because um ultimately what I want is just everyone to feel confident and empowered in themselves. So I don't want it to be like me saying this is how you have to do it. It's like you finding what's best for you in that moment, but then how can I, yeah, be a resource or kind of guide you or support you in it as you feel out what is absolutely best for you.
Definitely did that big time. Like I didn't, yeah, I felt like very guided through it, not like told. It was like very easy to like I mean, I was working through finding myself again, so it was like very nice to have that as a resource, and very easy to work through finding myself again with you as like
Hmm.
a guide there, and like being supportive. So
Hmm. Yeah, I'm so happy.
yeah.
um I guess, yeah, I mean, like, do you have any other thoughts or anything else you'd want to say to anyone who's maybe like considering joining, or is going through any of the stuff you were going through before?
um I mean, being willing to like take the leap for yourself is like the biggest thing I can say. Like, I know I was like kind of hesitant in the beginning. I like hadn't really spent money on myself for like personal growth in that area. So it was also just like an area of the unknown for me. And I was just like, I don't know if it's like gonna like work for me or whatnot. But taking going towards things that scare you and like you kind of know, or like I don't know, I just felt like a huge intuition like to go for it. And even though it was scary, so don't let like fear stop you from anything like that. And like I would just say it connected me a lot on a spiritual level. It opened a lot of doors for me that I'm still currently working through. And like I'm about to start the program, restart the program again. So it's like a thing that is, you can consistently come back to, and like it kind of helps you through any areas in your life that keep coming up. So I guess like in the beginning, I was really nervous about spending money for myself. Like I hadn't really spent that type of money on personal development for myself. Like I didn't really think that I had trauma necessarily. It was just, I just knew my mindset was like in a bad place, and it was really difficult to kind of like take that leap. Like every excuse was kind of running through my head as to like why I shouldn't. But I will say like great, like a lot of really good things started happening for me when I did, like immediately after I like took that jump. And like things that I maybe wouldn't have uncovered for like years if I hadn't. So I would say like it's 100% worth taking the leap of faith if you're like worried about it or anything, like I was in the beginning. But it's definitely worth it to invest it in yourself, because then it shows up in your relationships, your career, like yourself, like it shows up in all of those places later on down the road. So yeah, that's what I would say about it.
I think like my favorite part too was when you did join, because we kind of had that conversation on the phone of like some limiting beliefs, and like, you know, when you level up or you invest in yourself, or you make that new standard of like what you feel you deserve, and you're making the action or the changes to get there, how like the universe conspires to support you. And I think it was like, I don't know if it was later that day or like the next day, but you texted me about like, oh my gosh, this crazy thing happened in my business, and like this perfect person came into your life, and then like a few other things started showing up, and it was just really like, you see how fast things get going in motion when you start like stepping into where you want to be.
It's like where you want to be, and also like where I guess like in my point of view, it was like where the universe wanted me to be. It's like it started sending you just like all of these signs that you're like on the right path, and like aligning with like who you are and like where you're supposed to be. So
definitely. Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And thank you so much for sharing everything here with me and with everyone else. And it's really been so exciting to be able to support you and watch you uncover all these things.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of your support and like the program and everything, and continued support as well. Wasn't expecting that like beyond it. So
no, I'm so happy to have that for you.